Now, I know some of you are Trump skeptics in the sense that you don't think that he's going to do the right thing by Ukraine. I understand why you would think that. I'm not faulting you at all for that. He's given you very little reason to think otherwise until the last few weeks. But there's more lines of evidence that he is going to be doing the right thing, at least in some capacities. And even if it's for the wrong reason, let's say it's for the wrong reason, he's still making some strides that are going the right direction for Ukraine. So let's start with this. And he was meeting with Ursula von der Leyen, and I'll show you the video here. Now, this came from Spetsnaz and Lord Bibo. My Lord Bibo is a very pro-Russian site, and on Twitter. EU will buy 750 billion in energy from the US and invest 600 billion more than they are investing in the US, plus billions for weapons. And the conclusion was Ursula got ripped off. Okay, let's say that that's the case. There's still something very positive happening for Ukraine and within the deal. So let's hear this right now. This is Trump and Ursula von der Leyen talking, mostly Trump.
Those things are 750 billion, 600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part, it was closed. And now it's open.
Now, remember, this deal-making thing is very important to Trump. It's like the Nobel Prize. He really, really wants this kind of thing. Let's just listen to him for a little more. I know that some of you don't like it, but this is lines of evidence that he is actually going to be moving the right direction toward Ukraine.
It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's one number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment.
Purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars of military equipment. We're selling this stuff now, even if it's for the wrong reason. A lot of that equipment is going to wind up in Ukraine, and that's a net positive for Ukraine.
They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors.
And then Trump can run a victory lap and say, look what the deal I got. Okay. But he's going to also talk about NATO in just a moment.
Other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. You know,
that's a very different tune than what you heard recently. We have a very great relationship with NATO. That's reasonably new.
Not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong with NATO. So I just want to congratulate.
And at 5% to 2%, he can take credit for it. Great, give him credit for it. I mean, he was the one pushing for 2% to begin with. It's really Putin that gave the 5%. But let's say.
Congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games, and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's. I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Okay, so that's where Trump was with von der Leyen. Here is another video. This is Marco Rubio talking about, hey, he's kind of over Putin.
He inherits it. and he's done everything possible to bring it to an end. I think he's growing increasingly frustrated that despite having very good interactions with Vladimir Putin and phone calls, it never leads to anything. So the time has come for some action here, and I think the president has made that abundantly clear. He's losing his patience. He's losing his willingness to continue to wait for the Russian side to do something here to bring an end to this war that wasn't his war, but he wants to see it come to an end. You know.
Okay, so I think that's all good, right? All right. Jay in Kiev commented here, and this is really interesting and insightful. Although Trump is still afraid to go after Putin himself, every non-European regime that Russia props up now is on the US's naughty list. Think about that. North Korea, Iran, whoever it is, like Venezuela, these are all people that are essentially our enemies, and Russia's behind everyone that's an enemy. Very interesting. Okay, now Trump was also just talking about how he was talking with the Prime Minister of Cambodia about ending the war with Thailand. He says, I am now calling on the acting Prime Minister of Thailand, also request for a ceasefire to end the war. There's this war between Cambodia and Thailand just picked up over the last week or so. There was an inflection point back in May, and then it went away. And then over the last week, this happened. I didn't really talk about it because it's a kind of a small thing compared to other large things. Like if it was Taiwan and China, we'd be talking about it. Okay. Coincidentally, we are conducting trade negotiations between both countries, and we don't want to make any deals while they're at war. I told them this directly. The call to Thailand will be made in the next few minutes. The conversation with Cambodia has already taken place, but I intend to call them back regarding the cessation of hostilities, depending on what Thailand says. I'm trying to simplify a complex situation, but it strongly reminds me of the conflict between Pakistan and India, which was successfully brought to an end. So Trump really wants to see himself as this great peacemaker. In fact, we see things like this. This is somebody posting to Trump, hoping, I suppose, that he's going to repost it. This is a reply to Trump on Truth Social. President Trump has brokered historic peace deals between Israel and Iran. Well, that's yet to be determined how far that'll go. And DRC, that's the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Rwanda, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo. Read Truth if you think that he should receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, well, I mean, he sees himself that way, and I just don't think it's going to be that easy when you're talking about what's going on with Russia, who's hardened against Ukraine, which is even more hardened to keep their freedom. Okay, Russia is racing to make major Ukraine gains before Trump's 50-day deadline. I'm not sure how strong of a deadline that is as far as like deadlines go. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment with that. But yeah. And then we see this, Steve Witkoff, the envoy to Russia. We need to end the war in Ukraine before the end of the Trump presidential term. Whoa, what happened to the first day? Where we blew way past that. We blew past 90 days. Now he's talking about past the end of the Trump presidential term. It's really mind-boggling that, but he sees that this isn't going to go away. I think they thought this would be a lot easier, like DRC and Rwanda or India and Pakistan, and it's nothing like it. Okay. Meanwhile, the White House is talking about, well, kind of almost silly stuff. Like you're talking about how the Russia hoax was a blatant lie from Obama. I think Russia was meddling in a sense, like Russia was meddling, trying to cause chaos and division with the United States. I don't know that it swung the election. That's what the majority of people don't think, that it swung the election. But Obama, I think, played it up politically. And, now Trump's laser focused on that. In fact, put this image out on Truth Social. And now this is a really kind of a terrible image. So this is Obama in the car, and here's Trump behind him in a car. Can I increase that a little bit? Here's Obama in the car. Here's Trump behind him in a car. And here is Vance in a car. And it's really weird that he would, this is that kind of ugly thing of Vance, with the bad hair and kind of greasy pores and whatever. Okay. But it actually goes back to the O.J. Simpson case back in 1991 or so. And this is talking about the Ford Bronco that O.J. Simpson, who murdered his ex-wife, and it was like a famous thing that was on TV, all TVs across America, because he was a football star that everybody knew. And it's going to get played out as like a racist kind of something, I'm sure, but that's the least of his problems. Like, why are you putting this out here? It's kind of embarrassing. Okay. And then we see things like this. He's reposting this on Truth Social. Wall Street Journal poll, economic optimism surges 11 points under Trump. It's a recent record. Well, that's 11 points from a low, which if you read the article, which I did, new Wall Street Journal poll released today reveals striking 11-point surge in the number of Americans who rate the economy as excellent or good. Well, yeah, since according to the poll, 47% of registered voters now view, that's a minority still, now view the economy in positive terms, up from just 36% in April. What happened on April 1st? Do you remember this? April 1st is when we announced the tariffs and the bottom dropped out of the market. And then, so now we're recovering from where we were just before that, right? Okay. So that's what's going there. And then my own experience, right? So, and I'm going somewhere with this. Tell me about my video quality. Some time ago, I got a better camera and I thought I was fine, but more than a third of you have joined me since March. So what's true about the camera that shows me talking? And only 1% said your video quality is bad and it makes me not want to watch. And then 18% said it's fine, neither good nor bad. 79% said the quality is good, I have no complaints. And then 2% said, I want you to be in 4K for a better viewing experience. Okay, so 3% have an issue with my video quality. And so I started looking, before that, I had started looking at it for a better camera. And the reason I put this poll out was because I had just looked at a camera, like I looked at it a few months ago and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll get this camera, but it's kind of cost prohibitive. It's like $800 or something like that. I just looked at it again because of tariffs. It was now over $1,000. And I'm like, maybe I should have that poll put out and see, is this something that I really need to do? Okay. And then when we're talking about these other things, like if you're skeptical about like, will Trump go forward? Now I put some lines that, yeah, maybe he's doing some of the right things, even if for the wrong reasons, like with the deal with von der Leyen just now and, NATO moving up to 5% and that sort of thing. But look at this. This is in the Poly Market. Will Trump increase sanctions on Russia before August? Only 1% think that that's going to happen. Okay, well, I understand the skepticism. Now, the deadline was supposed to be September 2nd, but it's still, I get the skepticism. Okay, just a few more things and we'll be done. Alexander Dugin, that's Putin's brain, put this out. MAGA is much more than MAGA. Trump is not on the level of the movement he has initiated himself. Wow. He's saying that Trump's not where he's supposed to be. Like he's supposed to be the standard bearer for MAGA. MAGA is a system and a coherent, illiberal ideology of scientific populism, fresh, new, vigorous, and attractive. The day of MAGA will come. Well, that's to be more kind of like Russia. No, we don't want to do it. And Trump is pivoting from that. And even Dugin's recognizing that he's not on the level of the movement that he initiated himself. I think that's strong. That's good praise in a weird way. Okay, then we have other things like hanging over Trump, like there's a larger problem for Trump with the Epstein chaos, and people are putting out things like how close is Trump to pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't know what'll happen with that, but that's not going to help the situation of whatever's going on. But I do agree with this from the Reagan caucus, more Rubio, less Vance. Vance is very much against Ukraine. Rubio is starting to show a little bit more of his past, I would hope, true colors, but we'll see how that all plays out over time as well. And then finally, I'll leave you with this just for fun, just for kicks and giggles. I showed you this morning that the Navy Day Parade was canceled. Then just before I put this video together, I just looked at the news just to see if there was anything I had left out. And this, Nikolai Patrushev, Putin's aide and chairman of the Maritime Board of the Russian Federation, awarded Putin a Naval Board Medal for his significant personal contribution to the development of the Russian Federation's naval fleet and for loyalty to the Russian Navy. I'm not even sure what to say, but I'm sure you have comments, so put them below. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.